Hey, my name is Rob. I'm going to be teaching you about chest tubes today. So, major indications for chest tubes include things such as pneumothorax, hemothorax, and pneumohemothorax. Pneumothorax being air in the pleural space, hemothorax is blood in the pleural space, and pneumohemo being a mixture. Other indications for chest tubes include post-cardiac surgery, where pneumothorax are very frequent, and you want to prevent things such as cardiac tamponade as well. Pleural effusion and empyema are also on that list. So the basic mechanism of action for a chest tube is to basically drain fluid. It's a one-way valve that helps prevent fluid or helps get fluid out of the chest cavity while at the same time preventing air from getting back inside of it. Most nursing responsibilities include things such as knowing whether it's set to water, seal, or suction. You want to make sure the tubing is patent, check it for kinks, check it for clots, keep the tube system at least 2 feet below the patient at all times. You want to assess the dressing daily or every shift, make sure it's clean, dry, and intact. Dressings are changed every 48 hours. You'll see you want to assess the fluid that's coming out of them, check what kind of color it is, the consistency, and measure it at the end of every shift. When these things fill up is the time you want to change them. You don't need to change them just whenever they fill up. So when they're set up to suction, the most important component is this. You'll have the negative pressure to millimeters mercury. This is per doctor's order. Most of the time it's set to -20. And then up at this point is hooked to the wall suction. You want the wall suction to be at least -80 millimeters of mercury.
And then usually back here there is a, is that on this one?
Right here.
Nice.
So this is the water. So down here, when you hook it up to the suction, you want to check the bellows. The bellows section is right here. You'll see a balloon fill out that'll come up to this arrow. That's how you know that you have maximum suction for your device.
Okay.
Checking for air leaks. So a common problem that we can have with these is air leaks. You'll see bubbling at the system down here. The number systems here can help signify just how bad that air leak is. The bubbles will usually come from this way and go up. Whenever you see an air leak, you want to let the physician know. The best way for checking for air or where the air leak is having the patient cough. When a patient coughs and there is continuous bubbling still, you know that the air leak is somewhere on the system here. If the patient coughs and the bubbling stops, then you know that the air leak is somewhere in the chest cavity or on the patient end of the spectrum. So in case of emergency, 2 things you want to keep at the bedside at all times are petroleum gauze and pressure dressing tape and a liter of sterile water. The pressure, if the patient's chest tube comes out at the patient's site, you want to throw petroleum gauze over top and tape 3 sides. You want to do a 3/4 dressing, which will allow air to still escape the cavity while preventing air from getting back inside. The liter of water, so if you were to say something were to happen to this tubing here and it breaks off and you can't attach, you can take, at the patient side, you would take this and you would put it into the liter of sterile fluid, and that'll cause a do-it-yourself water seal for the patient. Changing the atrium, you just take so whenever you get a new atrium set, these will be on the back. You take it out. Where the suction is applied, you squirt it directly in here. One of these things will be the exact amount of fluid to fill this to to 2 centimeters of water. It'll turn blue, and that's how you know that it's in the correct area. And then you just hook it to the suction. You take this and you press the clear plastic and it pops out, and you just press it right in and it'll automatically snap, and that's about everything for chest tubes.
And it sounds like the most recent evidence-based practice is to never clamp.
Correct.
Unless there's a specific...
Correct. You never want to clamp. Clamping is most likely clamping a chest tube will cause tension pneumothoraxes, and they can happen very quickly, and so they recommend never clamping as much as possible.
I think one case I had a patient put out over 2 liters at a time.
Mm-hmm.
That was too much. And so I got a specific physician order to clamp it for a period of time and then unclamp it.
Yeah, and so like physician order, I mean that's its own thing. Another thing, you know, actually speaking of what you mentioned is you always want to monitor how much is being put out. If you have, you know, if you're putting out 50 mLs an hour for 4 hours and then all of a sudden there's a 500 ml dump, you want to let the physician know. That's usually a sign that something's wrong or something new has occurred.
And I'm sorry if I already said this, or if you mentioned this, did you say if you're putting out 100 or greater an hour, even
You want to let the physician know. Yep.
less than that is...
Less than that's generally okay. Yep.
Okay. Other than crepitus. It's another sign of subcutaneous.
That's usually like air leaking into the subcutaneous tissue. So like you'll feel like when you press on it, it's like the Rice Krispies feeling, like it's crunchy, like you'll hear the air popping inside the system. That usually means that the chest tube's dislodged somewhere, and so you want to let the physician know that they'll want to investigate.
And probably just reinforce. Can you reinforce?
Yeah, I mean if the dressing's been coming off, yeah, like make sure it's, you know, reinforced, but then definitely let the physician know.
Does crepitus ever become real dangerous? Like real bad dangerous?
I mean it can. I mean like, you know, it's usually a sign that something worse is pending. You know, I mean that the chest tube's not in the correct place.
I'm gonna put this in place for